comes out, calls Caitlin Clark the GOAT. Let's take a look. The GOAT right there. Now, the GOAT, like, she's the best ever? I think so. The GOAT, like the best ever?
The GOAT. She called Caitlin Clark the GOAT. Not just great, not just talented, the greatest of all time. And this is coming from Raven Johnson, Dawn Staley's protege, the player who spent 4 years at South Carolina learning the game from one of the most outspoken voices in women's basketball. The same Raven Johnson who, just weeks ago, was part of a program that many viewed as openly hostile to everything Caitlin Clark represented. So what changed? Because people don't just flip overnight. Not like this. Not when there's this much history involved.
But you knew the online attacks for Raven Johnson were going to happen, right? You knew that Raven Johnson was going to get called every name in the book, a sellout, a coon, on the plantation now. So Raven Johnson, she doubles down. She takes to her Instagram and doubles down. The GOAT. Just in case you guys aren't seeing the names, Raven, don't piss me off. This, that slave-ish. The late Chase put that belt on her back.
And she didn't just say it once, she doubled down, posted it on Instagram, made it permanent. The GOAT, all caps, no ambiguity, and the reaction was exactly what you'd expect. Immediate, visceral, and divided straight down the middle. One side called her a sellout, said she'd abandoned her principles the moment she got to Indiana. Used words I'm not going to repeat here, but the plantation comparisons were everywhere. The other side said she's playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers, that she knows exactly what she's doing and it's brilliant. But here's what nobody's really asking. What if both sides are wrong? What if there's a third explanation that makes a lot more sense when you actually look at what's happening inside that locker room?
Welcome to the Benzano Podcast, where we're calling a spade. Great to be here with you guys today. Sophie, the trophy. Caitlin Clark, Raven Johnson, Sophie Cunningham. This has your fingerprints all over it. This is your handwriting. I know you're aware of what's going on out here. I know you see the chatter, you see the talk, you see the dialogue. You want to quell as much of that as you possibly can.
Sophie Cunningham. That's the name you need to remember. Because this entire transformation has her fingerprints all over it. The veteran presence, the locker room glue, the player who figured out exactly how to navigate the Caitlin Clark effect last season and turned it into legitimate career momentum. Watch how the Fever are positioning these three together. Raven, Sophie, Caitlin, you see them on the bench together. You see them in practice together. You see them in every piece of content the team puts out. That's not accidental. That's strategic. That's Sophie Cunningham doing exactly what a veteran leader is supposed to do, bringing the new rookie into the fold before the outside noise can create division. And if you think that's not necessary, you weren't paying attention to what happened with the 2024 Fever roster.
You didn't really see that Raven Johnson appear too often at Dawn Staley, South Carolina, pushing the pace like she was. You don't see that very often, so she's away from the Dawn Staley. 4, her and CC got along. 5, this is kind of where I'm leaning a little bit. Sophie Cunningham is stepping in and saying, hey, the cameras are going to be in front of your face. The cameras are going to be following you around everywhere.
Here's the reality that nobody wants to acknowledge. Raven Johnson just spent 4 years in an environment where the narrative was carefully controlled, where the messaging was consistent, where Dawn Staley's perspective on the game, on the league, on race in basketball was the dominant voice in that locker room every single day. That's not a criticism, that's just fact. Every program has a culture. Every coach shapes how their players see the world. And when you're at South Carolina from 2021 to 2025, you're getting a very specific worldview about what the WNBA is, what it should be, and who deserves credit for its growth. Now, Raven's in a completely different environment. Different voices, different perspectives, different daily conversations. Is it really that shocking that her views might evolve? That she might see things differently when she's not in that same echo chamber anymore?
You got to buy in, you got to be bought in. I think Sophie Cunningham is responsible for a lot of this, a lot of the kumbayaing that we're now seeing on the Indiana Fever sideline. I think that's Sophie Cunningham. I think that's Sophie Cunningham's veteran leadership, veteran presence. Now I'm seeing a lot of people saying this is also Raven Johnson saying, well, how can I get some of these fans? How can I, let me surround myself with Caitlin. Let me get next to Sophie and let's see if I can pull from their fan base a little bit.
But there's another layer here that's purely practical. Raven Johnson has a shoe deal coming. She's got endorsement opportunities on the horizon. She's watching what happened to Sophie Cunningham last season, how defending Caitlin Clark, how being visibly supportive, how playing hard alongside her translated directly into fan support, social media growth, and actual money. Sophie Cunningham is the blueprint. She showed everyone exactly how to capitalize on the Caitlin Clark effect without compromising your game or your integrity. You play hard, you defend your teammate, you show genuine support, and the fan base responds. Is that cynical? Maybe, but it's also smart business. And if you think professional athletes aren't thinking about their brand and their earning potential, you're not living in reality.
And Raven Johnson's the one stepping in front of Caitlin Clark getting so-and-so's fate. If, folks, let's just say the first time we go up against the Chicago Sky, J.C. Sheldon, Caitlin Clark's arch nemesis, the arch nemesis, J.C. Sheldon, Dejanay. What if Raven Johnson's like, all right, this is what Sophie did. Let me show him what I got. Let me show him what I could do. Hey, you're getting in the wrong person's face. You're pushing the wrong person down.
Now here's where this gets really interesting, because words only go so far. Calling someone the GOAT on Instagram is one thing, but what happens the first time the Fever play the Chicago Sky? What happens when Chennedy Carter or Michaela Onyenware or Angel Reese gets physical with Caitlin Clark? Does Raven Johnson step in? Does she get in someone's face? Does she show that she's actually bought in, not just with her words, but with her actions? Because that's the test. That's when we find out if this is genuine or if it's performance. Sophie Cunningham passed that test last season. Multiple times. She got technical fouls defending Caitlin. She got into confrontations. She made it clear that if you're coming after her teammate, you're dealing with her too. That's what earned her the respect of Fever fans, not the words, the actions.
Words can only go so far. I want to see the action. But I think we're off to a good start so far with Raven Johnson. The team, I mean, other than drafting her, well, she's on our team now. But once she's been on the team, I think the players have done a good job of trying to navigate that as best as they could to try to mitigate any type of outside noise. And to Raven Johnson's credit, I think she's done a pretty good.
And here's what makes this complicated. You can't blame the players for the front office decision. The Indiana Fever drafted Raven Johnson. That wasn't her choice. She didn't campaign for it. She didn't demand to go there. The organization made that call, knowing full well the optics, knowing the history, knowing how fans would react. So what's she supposed to do? Show up miserable? Refuse to integrate? Make everyone's life harder because some fans are upset about the draft pick? That's not realistic. That's not professional. Once you're on the team, you've got to find a way to make it work. And to Raven's credit, she's doing that. She played with energy on Saturday. She pushed the pace in ways we rarely saw at South Carolina. She looked like a different player, more aggressive, more confident, more willing to take risks. That's not nothing.
I'm not gonna say all sign and dandy yet, but I can't take it out on the players that the front office decided to make that decision. I'm not gonna forget what was said 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. I don't have short-term memory loss, but I am going to acknowledge what's currently unfolding in front of me. Shout out to Sophie Cunningham. I think that veteran leadership is going a long way, especially in this situation, because I really don't see anybody else in the locker room stepping up like that, trying to bring everybody together. Kelsey Mitchell's there just to hoop. AB is a nice lady. Sophie, I see, hey, everybody get over here. Everybody get over here. We're about to go out on a night on a town. I see Sophie Cunningham doing that. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like the video, hype the video, subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate it. See you next time, and as always.
But let's not pretend this is simple. Let's not act like calling Caitlin Clark the GOAT after 4 years at South Carolina doesn't raise legitimate questions. Because it does. And those questions deserve honest answers, not just dismissive responses from either side. Is Raven Johnson genuinely changing her perspective based on new experiences and new relationships? Possibly. People do evolve when their environment changes, and 2 months in a new system with new teammates can absolutely shift how you see things. Is she being strategic about her brand and her marketability in a league where Caitlin Clark's popularity dwarfs everyone else's? Also possibly. That doesn't make her fake, it makes her aware of the business reality of professional sports in 2025. Is Sophie Cunningham orchestrating this integration to keep the locker room drama-free and the outside noise at bay? Almost certainly. And that's exactly what veteran leadership looks like. That's her doing her job. Could all three of these things be true simultaneously? Yes. Because people are complicated, motivations are layered, and trying to reduce this to a simple narrative, sellout or chess player, genuine or calculated, misses the actual complexity of what's happening. Here's what I'm watching for. Not the Instagram posts, not the sound bites, the moments when it matters. The first time someone takes a cheap shot at Caitlin and Raven's the closest player. The first time there's a loose ball and bodies are flying and we see whose side she's really on. The first time the pressure's on and the cameras are rolling and there's a choice to be made about who she stands with. That's when we'll know. That's when the performance ends and the reality shows through. Words are easy. Actions cost something. And in a league where every interaction is analyzed, every gesture is scrutinized, and every relationship is questioned, the truth always comes out eventually. Sophie Cunningham figured out how to navigate this last season. She showed that you can be supportive of Caitlin Clark without compromising who you are. She proved that defending your teammate and playing winning basketball translates into fan support and career opportunities. She became the model for how to handle this dynamic successfully. Now Raven Johnson's trying to follow that same path. And maybe it works. Maybe she becomes another key piece of this Fever roster. Maybe the fans who are skeptical right now end up embracing her the way they embraced Sophie. Maybe this becomes a success story about growth and adaptation and professional maturity. Or maybe the first time things get tense, the first time there's conflict, the first time she has to choose between her old world and her new one, we see something different. Maybe the South Carolina influence is stronger than a few weeks in Indiana can overcome. Maybe the cultural divide is too wide to bridge with Instagram posts and practice footage. I don't have the answer yet, and neither do you. What I do have is enough experience watching this league to know that time reveals everything. The regular season is long, the pressure is real, and eventually everyone shows you who they actually are. So I'm not doing backflips. I'm not declaring this a complete transformation. But I'm also not dismissing it as pure performance. I'm watching, I'm waiting, and I'm paying attention to what happens when the games actually matter and the stakes are real. Because that's when we'll find out if Raven Johnson actually believes Caitlin Clark is the GOAT, or if she just knows that saying it makes her life easier. And there's a big difference between those two things. What do you think? Is this genuine growth or strategic positioning? Are you buying the transformation or waiting for proof? Let me know in the comments, because this conversation is just getting started. And if you want to see how this plays out all season long, subscribe to the channel. This is going to be one of the most fascinating storylines to follow in the WNBA this year.